Fishful Thinker Television, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Coldwell Banker, every day till it's sold. St. Croix Rods, the best rods on earth. Evinrude, spend more time on the water. Good morning. Welcome to Fishful Thinker. I'm the show's host, Chad LaChance. Joining me today, Mr. Nate Zelinsky.
How you doing? Tight
Line Outdoors, doing great, Nate. If you're a regular fan of our show, we appreciate it. You've probably seen this guy on the show several times before. And in fact, we've even been on this very lake. Once again, we're on Spinney Reservoir here in central Colorado, in South Park, actually. Last time we were here with Nate, we were trolling for pike and we caught some giants. Well, now we're here. The lake iced out about a week ago, and we're here looking for the big trout that this lake is famous for. What do you expect out of the trout for the day?
You know, exactly like you said, early ice. These fish have been ice covered. The ice is off. They're hungry. They're feeding heavily. Should see some real nice fish.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. There's no ice fishing allowed here, so these fish have had all winter to rest. We got a beautiful spring morning. It's early May. It's about 20 degrees out, so it's still cold. But this should be a fun show. So we're looking forward to bringing you some conventional tackle, big giant trout in Spinney Mountain Reservoir. One of the things we're doing here to get started is the lake's only been open for boating for 2 days. So even our fearless leader, Nate here, who spends a lot of time here on Spinney Mountain Reservoir, doesn't have necessarily a perfect handle on yet. It takes time to develop your patterns. So we're fishing some areas that have been good historically, and we'll get started. We're gonna focus on weeds. And Nate says we're focusing on weeds, why?
You know what it is our water temperature is still 38, 39 degrees, so it's cold. So in that time period, these fish want the easiest meal possible. So we're sitting above these flooded weeds here. So we got the weeds below us that's producing all these scuds, this little freshwater shrimp that's living just at the top of these weeds. So these trout are acting like a lawnmower, just cruising the tops of these weeds, feeding on those scuds.
We're fishing all these lures on, or I'm fishing all mine anyway. We'll let Nate talk in a second about his, but I'm throwing mine on braided line, and the reason being is there's weeds in here, and I want to be able to get these lures down around the top of those weeds and be able to pop them out of the weeds real easy. I also want to be able to make long throws and still get hook sets. I'm fishing medium and medium light rods, and they're all, the shortest one I've got with me is 6'9", and then the others are 7-footers, and they're all St. Croix. And this is 8-pound actually, Fireline Tracer braid with a 6-pound, 100% fluorocarbon leader. What are you throwing, Nate?
Yeah, I'm throwing a Tasmanian Devil. As far as equipment-wise, I'm throwing all mine on mono, 6-pound XT. You know, good strong line, abrasion resistant to handle those weeds. I always love that little bit of stretch in there. And on a 6.5-foot rod, tipped with an Abu Garcia reel.
There you go. And I've got Abus as well, Saurons actually, Abu Garcia Saurons, which are designed for throwing super lines, so it's a make sense deal with my rig. I run the drags a little bit soft to compensate for that give that Nate's talking about his monofilament has. So that's how we kind of make up for it. So once we get that hook stuck, we'll rely on the drag on this Sauron to make sure we don't lose them. It's early and cold, and we're fishing. I'm working a tube jig right here, and Nate's working that Tasmanian Devil, and we're gonna keep mixing it up. As always, on every episode of Fishful Thinker, we're gonna work on building a pattern, you know, finding depth range that these trout are in and a retrieve that they like. And then we'll hope, and I hesitate to say this out loud, we'll hope for a tiny little bit of wind here, which generally will activate the bite. And why is that, Nate?
And what it does is each wave that curls creates almost a back pressure, and it pulls those scuds off the top of the weeds, kind of pulls them towards the surface. And that's just the instant trigger to those fish. It's time to feed.
We have made contact. Leave it. Oh, beautiful rainbow. Let me get this up and out of the way, and I'll get the net.
That was on the same cast. He missed it, and I was, you know, sitting there dreading it, and boom, he came back and just pounded it.
All right, beautiful fish. And we're here whenever you're ready to bring him this way on the tube jig, and we've got it. Holy smokes, that's the best you could do to get us started, huh?
I'm working on it.
Look at this thing, guys. Now, this is the kind of trout that Spinney's known for. Nate, you got him?
I got him.
There you go. That's the kind of trout right there that Spinney Mountain Reservoir here is known for. These, hey, what did you pick it on? Good night, man.
Didn't wear him out enough.
Nice. Now, beautiful. Good start for the morning. That's right in the average size you were talking about. Yep. You got trout slime all over you. It's beautiful. You can see that these are hatchery fish. flip him around. He's missing a fin. Nate's picking on the cripples right here, but but that's a beautiful fish to get us started. Deep jigging. We're working up like we were just talking about. Started deep, didn't work, moved up a level.
Second tier, got him.
Picked one off right about.
2 bites in the first cast.
There you go. That's a good sign. Good job, man. Let's put that one back. And now, what's the deal on keeping trout here? What's the limit on Spinney?
You know, what it is here, again, it's gold medal, so we're talking flies and lures only. If you want to keep a fish, you're allowed 1 fish a person over 20 inches.
1 fish over 20, so that one's not even a keeper.
Not even a keeper.
Probably what, 17 incher?
I'd say probably 18 incher.
18 incher.
A couple inches shy.
Well, that means we got to keep casting.
Exactly.
All right, good start. It's
perfect.
Appreciate that. Getting us on the board. Good work, Nate. And you got an 1/8 ounce jig head?
1/4 ounce.
1/4 ounce. So you've got the. That's right. You're afraid of 1/8 ounce.
I don't use 1/8 ounce. Scared to death of it.
Well, that may make a difference, truthfully. You know, in a lot of cases, the speed of the drop can make a big difference, and certainly the direct connection between you and the bait can make a difference. Now, I would say that some of that is offset by me using super thin braid and you using 6-pound monofilament. So I get away with lighter weights, it seems like, with braid because it cuts water quick.
Yeah, the other thing I like personally just by using heavier stuff is, one, when I do hit bottom in some of these sandy areas, I kick up a little cloud with that little bit heavy, and it definitely draws their attention. And two, we're not fishing a specific piece of structure. You know, like when we walleye fish, we're targeting the small piece, and we want to break down. Here, we're on these vast flats. I want to still do the hopping and the touching of the bottom with this jig, but I still want to cover as much water as possible. Sure. You know, the whole idea of the more fish I get in front of, the more fish I'm going to catch.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that 100%. And if you get bit again, I'll be switching to an 1/8 ounce or away from my 1/8 ounce jig. All right, now this is a little tiny fish, I have a feeling. Oh, look at this monster, folks. It's a pike. I have made contact with a pike. Now, Nate, I'm afraid of these. They have teeth.
They do.
Look at that, folks. There we go. So we're trout fishing. Now, that's one of the things about Spinney Reservoir that's kind of cool, is that, what a cute little pike, too. I might even kiss that one. No, maybe I won't. But, you know, it's kind of funny. It's kind of a rare opportunity. You catch pike or trout. And, you know, that's not exactly what we're looking for, but you'll never get me to turn down a cool-looking little fish like that.
It is.
I mean, that's a neat little fish.
A lot of guys want to take these out of the lake. We're supporters of pike.
I am not one of them, so I am not one of them.
We're right there and let him grow up.
I believe in diversity. There's lots of trout lakes in Colorado.
Exactly.
I understand that this is a really good trout lake, but I'm also not a huge fan of taking fish just for the sake of taking fish. So we'll put them back, but I like it. We're on a multi-species trip so far. There we go. I'm going to claim that was intentional. As an angler, we're constantly looking for ways to get more bites. And one of the best ways to get bites is with the subtle gliding action of a tube jig. They might have been invented for bass fishing, but tube jigs are a great way to catch a huge variety of species, and because of that, there's a huge variety of tube jigs available. From little tiny crappie tubes like this, little tiny 1.5-inch long tube jigs for crappies and panfish or perhaps little trout, to more average sized tube jigs like these 3-inch models right here, a good all-around choice for a variety of species. Or maybe some of these monstrous tube jigs that are made to mimic rainbow trout, which are stocked all over the place. Great choices for bass, perhaps muskies, pike, the larger predators, lake trout. The oversized tube jigs will get you bites from there as well. They can be Texas rigged to be weedless, or they can be put on a jig head. They can be fished from 100 feet deep to very, very shallow. Tube jigs should not be overlooked as part of your angling arsenal. Wee little pike. And he bit exactly like the trout. Hopped it up off the bottom, right on it. As soon as it slack-lined after I hopped it, he was on it. And then, now, do those little tiny guys have teeth as, I mean, obviously they're littler teeth, but
they're wicked.
It seems like they would be.
Those type fish are the ones that'll bite you off far faster than a big one. Because that size, their teeth are so tight together, it's almost like a solid knife. As where your big fish, you can actually kind of go in between the teeth and kind of that membrane and stay safe.
That makes good sense. We actually broke one off at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal on a show we did that bit off. Line was around his whole upper mouth, and again, I don't use steel eaters, and he broke us off and swam off, and then boom, there we go. Look at this one. This is a nice one here. Look at this trout. Holy smokes, that's a nice one. Let me get up and out of the way here. Then I'm gonna get the net.
You know, I was actually swimming that. I just, you know, you were catching them like that. I made a few casts, didn't produce a fish, so I started hopping up higher, and that time I actually was reeling it up 3-4 feet, and then he hammered it.
That's a nice one right here. You want to, can we swing him around on this side? That's a big old trout right here. In fact, you know what? Let's just go ahead and net him right here. Holy smokes, look at the size of this thing. Look at that. Here, fetch him out of there. Holy smokes, that's a big trout. That's a fat, thick, healthy, gorgeous trout right there, folks. Now, he's going to get me to switch to the heavier tube jig. Although you just reel on that one, I might switch away altogether. Look at that one. What a gorgeous trout. That's Holy smokes, now that's a nice trout right there. Oh, 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 ding! That's where the little counter is going to pop up on the screen. And see, what's going to happen is Nate's going to show us his dancing skills. It's called Dances with Trout. You might have seen that movie. No, but that's a beautiful fish. Let's go ahead and get him back, Absolutely. Especially since he hit the deck there. But
I think he's all right.
Yeah, I think he's all right. Yeah, that's trout for you right there. Now, here's the key thing, though. We fished the deep, 22, 23 feet, didn't catch any fish. Moved up on 15 to 16, 17 foot flat, boom, 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 in short order, 3 fish. We're definitely putting a pattern together quickly.
That's the biggest thing.
So I may have to change a color or change the weight on my tube jig up. Nate's tube jig's heavier than mine and also shorter and smaller. So between those two, that's a 2.5 inch tube, mine's a 3-inch tube. His bait's falling substantially faster than my bait is, and I think that may be part of the deal. Now that fish bit while you were reeling it up.
I was popping up just a little higher, just to, you know, I was gonna let it flutter down right when I was just getting ready to, almost didn't even start it yet. And boom, he hammered it.
I saw that rod load up. Good stuff.
Now, do I gotta quit fishing every time you catch one?
Oh, did he come off? He came off.
No,
he didn't. He's little. He's just coming right at me. I thought he was. Look at this one's gonna attack the boat. This trout's all about coming straight at me here. Now, this is a pretty one here. This looks like a male. Oh, nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, since you're already slimy, are you gonna handle this one for me?
I'm gonna catch another one.
Ah, see how he is? You can't take this guy anywhere. Now we get a hold of this one. Now I got a male this time. We'll get that tube jig out. How about that? Oh, he's milting. So we're in the spawn right there. You can see that fish milting right there all over Nate's carpet. So we're gonna get him back in the drink. He's missing a fin too, and that's a sign that these are hatchery fish, or potentially they've been involved with too many pike. Beautiful fish. You see a little hook jaw on him. And that's exactly what we're looking for. So we have definitely developed a pattern. We found the depth range, we found the retrieve, and now it'll be a matter of clicking out a bunch of these in a hurry. Nice fish. I'm gonna dink him over the side right here, see if he'll cooperate. Here you go, buddy. Good looking. Got a little scud right on his gill there. See ya. And I got a cast way
Did you see that
out
recovery
there.
without using a braid?
Oh, that fish is still way out there too. That's a good hook set for way out there.
That's about as far as I can stretch that
Yeah,
line out.
he did, yeah. Stretch it down and hit him again. I'll get the net here. Let me get this thing up and out of the way. That's a beautiful fish.
That's exactly what you want, as far as a fun fact. That was as far as I could cast.
And still get bit.
Right when it hit, boom!
All right, we'll get that one netted for you right here. Another beautiful rainbow. That's a nice big rainbow there. Nice, good colors on it. Big giant belly on it.
Fish.
Beautiful, outstanding. And that's what folks come to Spinney for. I can see why. We hadn't been fishing that long. It took us maybe an hour to get them figured out, and now we've got them figured out. It's just banging them off. All right, got that one.
There you go.
There we go. Now, oh, he come off.
But you know, it does show, this is a good point. We're talking about building the pattern. Even though you lost that fish, you just switched to that heavier jig.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
that's
boom,
my
right
third
away.
cast with it.
You don't think that those little subtle things will make a difference.
Yep.
And they do.
And notice we don't drop. Boom, there he goes. Oh, notice we don't.
I'm sleeping. No hook sets and 2 fish.
We don't just drop the rod like this and throw the slack at it. What you want to do is you kind of want to follow that line or let it pendulum towards you. You got to keep enough tension on it to know they bit it, especially with these unscented, unsalted baits. Trout are not going to hold them. They're going to bump it, and you're going to have to be Johnny on the spot, as you just saw with Nate right there. So we'll drop the rod tip and follow the bait back down with it. Now, one thing I'm noticing, and I'm watching real subtle details, what Nate's doing different than me, and I think it's helping him. I hope that's the weeds. And I got a bunch of weeds on there. What he's doing slightly different than me is he's holding the rod tip high and letting the bait swing towards him more. And I've been following the bait down more with the rod tip. And I think the difference is his bait's coming gliding towards the boat more, and my bait's dropping more straight to the bottom. So I'm going to keep the rod tip higher and work the bait as on my lift deal after it gets to the bottom here. So instead of just dropping the rod tip back down, I'll reel up some slack and let it pendulum towards me.
It just gives that bait just a little more open time out in that open water.
A little bit of glide.
Oh,
It's
look
a
at that
giant, it's a monster. Get the net, call the taxidermist. Whoa, he's shaking like a sea trout. Look at him go. He's a wee little tyke right there, and that might explain some of the misses we've had.
Definitely.
Because if there's very many of them like
I
this.
wouldn't catch a fish that size, but it might explain some of your misses.
Here we go. Here we go. And again, we've got the rubbed off fins. These fish were definitely hatchery fish at some point. Both fins rubbed off on this one, so now it's my turn to pick on the cripples. But someday he'll grow up and be one of those big pretty ones, or maybe a 40-inch pike will eat him. But for now, we're gonna put him back. There you go, buddy. This is a very active way to trout fish, which I like. There's a lot of guys that catch a lot of trout dunking power bait. I'm all for it. I'll be the first to tell you that 1 million trout are caught every year on power baits. But that ain't the only way to catch them, apparently. Good catch.
You know, I figure I'm good for about 1 every 3.
Oh, that's a nice one too. That's a real nice trout. Look at this one, folks. That's a pretty one. Holy, look at the colors on it. That's a fat one too.
Look at the belly on that one.
Holy smokes, that's a fat trout right there. Let me get my St. Croix put down and get the net, and we'll get that fish for you, Nathan. That's a good looking trout right there. Come around here.
That's what we're talking about.
Man, that's a nice trout. Good night. Look at this one.
I'm gonna touch the net, get my hands wet for this one.
Holy smokes.
Pop that hook.
That is a fat trout. Holy smokes.
Get him in the sun, get her.
Why would they grow fast? I really don't know why they'd grow fast in here. Look at this. I think he swallowed a baseball. What a beautiful fish you caught. Holy smokes.
That tail's still 4 inches behind my hand.
That is a good looking trout. Nicely done, Mr. Zelinsky. That's a good looking fish right there.
I'm gonna get this one back.
Yeah,
this
that's
is an
a
awesome
monster
fish.
That's a beautiful fish.
Look at the belly on that thing.
Woo, buddy. Oh, come here. Oh man, come out from underneath there. Holy smokes, this one's fired up. Good Lord.
We need to net that bad boy?
No, I think we can swing this one up in here. We've done better than that one today, but we'll take him. I'll tell you what, we've had a good morning. We've really only been fishing for about 2.5 hours. So there you go. Another one, moved to a new spot, went shallow. See ya. We don't want to play with that one anyway. We moved to another spot, moved up real shallow. First cast, as soon as we moved to a new spot, I went with the bait they've been hitting. I went back to the tube jig. So far, the reaction bite hasn't paid off. The jerk bait, the Tasmanian devil, my little spinner arm, my lipless crankbait, none of those have paid off. So I went back to the tube so that we can kind of see if it's that we're not around fish or they're not biting. First cast of the tube, got hooked up. It's not the biggest one we caught, but we'll take it. That right there.
Initial drop again for mono. About as far out as you can handle
That's way out there. What do you got there,
You
Mr.
got to do
Zelinsky?
some serious cranking to gain that one back.
That one's way out there. That's a good sized fish
that's
too,
a nice
isn't it?
fish.
Oh, that's
Look at the colors.
Look at that one.
The
Wow.
colors on this fish are unbelievable. Look at that.
That is a beautiful colored rainbow.
I mean, that
right there.
is a
Holy
pretty
smokes.
fish.
Let me get the net. That is a good look. You got him?
I got him.
That is a good, oh
Look at that.
man, dude, that is a beautiful trout. Pop that thing out in the sun. You got a hold of him. Let me set this down here. What? Oh man, Nathan, here, step forward. Show that to the folks at home. That
Look at
is
the
a
colors on that
pretty
fish.
trout right there. Hi, buddy.
Look at
Meet
that red
Nathan
line.
Zelinsky.
Got all his fins.
Oh, got one with all its fins. There you go. Beautiful fish. That's a good looking trout right
awesome.
there. Folks, I'll tell you, the tube jig may be underestimated. A lot of folks, you see it a little bit around here, but in my travels, not very many people tube jig for trout, and they're missing the boat, I can tell you that.
Real quick, while I put him back,
Yeah.
the thing I want to say about tube jigs too is it is a technique from a boat or from shore.
Good
For your
point.
guys at home that that are shore fishing,
Yeah.
it's absolutely deadly from shore.
Absolutely, I
We're
believe
gonna get
that.
him back. Look at that fish.
That's a pretty colored one right there.
Look at that.
Holy smokes. Deep fish right underneath the boat. Now see, once again, I'm gonna let him burn out for a minute right there.
Brown.
Is it a brown?
Yeah.
Holy smokes, let him burn out. Now he just hooked that fish right at the boat. I mean, now you gotta admit, Nate, one hand on the rod, looking at the trolling motor. It was his fantastic jigging technique of dealing with how does the trolling motor work and catch one. All right, he's probably looking ready, huh?
That's a beautiful
That
fish.
is a good, I got your net right here. That is a pretty brown right there.
That brown.
Come here, buddy. I'll let you bring him up to me. And oh, that's a really pretty fish. Holy smokes. Look at that thing. Tube jig fell out. Gotta love that.
Look at that fish.
Let me see that thing. Oh man.
That's pretty.
That, folks, right there. You want to catch one of those, this is the guy you need to talk to right here. That is a beautiful brown.
Absolutely. Look at the colors on that cheek patch.
Holy smokes, that's a beautiful
one. It goes
one.
from blue to green and even the purple iridescence on it. Look at that.
Not the classic brown color, but a beautiful color. Trout, I love that. That's a good looking fish
awesome
right there.
fish.
Why don't you slide him gracefully back in the lake right there. And that, I'll tell you what, that's why you go fishing. You got a little lucky on that one, you got to admit it. Oh, nicely done, Nate. Nicely done, nicely done. Folks, I'll tell you what, you want to come up to Spinney, catch some trout like that right here. Nathan Zelinsky, Tightline Outdoors, we'll get you his contact information. We came up here, been fishing, what, 3 hours, caught tons of trout, had a great time. It's been freezing cold out, but we've had a good time doing it. Once again, I appreciate it.
For sure, man.
Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully it motivates you to get out and do some trout fishing, get your tube jigs out and get after them. It's good fun. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Whoops. Hey, don't step on that.
Let the rookies in your boat look what they're doing.
Zooks. What do you call this thing on the front? I remember the first time I ran a trolling motor. Fish right. Oh. That'll teach me to let go of my Abu wallet. Got that one.
Look at that.
Oh, he came off. I
don't think you set the hook hard enough. You almost about fell out of the boat.